Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live reading of To Be a Slave. I am Kychia Noire, your podcast host for today's episode of Eat the Cake, Drink the Wine, and Fuck Them People podcast. We're reading To Be a Slave, which is a Newbery Honor book, a puffin modern classic written by Julius Lester in 1968. Over these past weeks, we have been reading these chapters to hear what our ancestors had to say about how they felt about slavery. We do not need to listen to what someone else wants us to know, think, or feel about how our ancestors felt because it is documented in this book, but not only in this book, it is documented by the good old United States of America at the Library of Congress through the Federal Writers Project. And if you want to know a little bit more, let me bring you up to speed. So once slavery ended, the United States of America created as part of the Federal Writers Project in order to document historical events that have occurred in the United States of America, to go out and to find all the slaves that you could find, the ex-slaves, and find out from them what was it really like to be a slave. And write it down. Don't change the dialects. Write it exactly as the slaves are writing or telling you the story, and then bring that information back. And then when they brought the information back, you know what they did? They decided what they wanted the people to know and what they wanted to keep hidden. So if you wanted to find out more information of what was hidden, you had to go to the Library of Congress and through the archives and read this information. So Julius Lester took it upon himself to go visit the Library of Congress because he had heard about the Federal Writers Project. So he decided, let me go and see what it's about. But he said it was interesting to him that the accounts of slavery that he had learned in school were very different from the accounts of slavery that was documented through the mouths of slaves. So in this book, he took many of those accounts, and he decided to let us know what our ancestors said, how our ancestors felt. And I will say it again and again. When it comes to Black people in America talking about their ancestors, which were slaves, it's always, you need to let that go. Stop playing the race card. That was so long ago. Blase squaze. It's all a lie. It's a lie because the United States of America never wanted to face the fact that they had genocide occurring through their walls. They never wanted anyone to know that they had their own homegrown terrorists that were here in the United States, because we were bought over, our ancestors were bought over to build this country on free labor, and it was never meant for Black people to be free or to survive in the United States of America. But as it became more and more noted of what was going on, especially through the civil rights movement, the United States said, hey, our panties are showing, we need to clean up a little bit. So they decided to clean up a little bit, but they still did everything they could possibly do to demise the growth and the prosperity that would have occurred in the Black community. You have the Tulsa Massacre, where you had a Black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, thriving, making money, Black businesses, Black banks. And what did they do? They came and burnt the whole town down, because how dare those Black people survive without us? How dare those Black people do good without us? So it was never meant for Black people to thrive and survive. America was meant for Black people to be slaves forever. And if you guys are not watching CC Reacts on YouTube, I tell you to go and watch it, because one, she's funny. She's very funny. But she is speaking and spitting straight knowledge and facts. She said some of the most intelligent people, Black people, are locked up in prison. She said they let the prostitutes and the drug addicts go, but the most intelligent they keep locked up. And it made me say, why is that? And I've been binge watching, which I'm pretty much caught up at this point. And I'm about to join the CI, see the stories in the CI. But can you imagine if you had the greatest and the best knowledgeable Black people out on the streets, would our communities really look like they look right now? I think those communities would have been thriving with a lot of Black businesses. The Black dollar would have been circulating more in the Black community. But if you keep that knowledge from the Black community, then the Black community has to depend on other communities. And I feel this is what happened. So that's pretty much to bring you up to speed on where we're at today. You can always go back and look at all of the videos that are posted on Tot Styles 2.0 YouTube channel. If you are looking to learn about podcast technology, please go and check out Tech in the City, which is on Tot Styles YouTube channel. So there's two channels. One, you'll see the face of To Be a Slave, and the other one, you'll see the face of Professor Tots, the podcast technology professor, as well as Soul, which is her son. And they were at the podcast summit in Miami last year. So that's what you'll see on that YouTube channel. And shout out to Donnie Wiggins and David Shands. The podcast summit this year is taking place in Atlanta, GA, and we are so ready for it to level up. And without further ado, let us jump into our reading. Oh, and one more thing. This book uses the N-word. I will not say the N-word, so you'll just hear me say N-word. It also says the word Negro. I have no problem with saying Negro because that is basically Black in Spanish. Black in Spanish is pronounced Negro. And when you Americanize it, Negro. But I'm not saying that other word. Okay, so here we go. The slave owner lived in a fear that was almost as bad as the fears held by the slaves. He had to live with the knowledge that at any moment his slaves might try to kill him. He knew, whether he admitted it to himself or not, that if he had been held as a slave, he would have done anything to gain his freedom. He knew also that his own slaves had such thoughts. The record of planned slave insurrections is long, and it was mainly due to treacherous house servants that most of these planned uprisings were uncovered. And in one instance, at least, the organizer of a slave insurrection betrayed it. The year before my arrival in the country, there was a concerted movement among a number of slaves on Bayou Boeuf that terminated tragically indeed. Lou Cheney conceived the project of organizing a company sufficiently strong to fight their way against all opposition to the neighboring territory of Mexico. Now, this is the first time Mexico has been mentioned, so this is going to be a little interesting. A remote spot far within the depths of the swamp back of Hawkins Plantation was selected as the rallying point. Lou flitted from one plantation to another in the dead of night, preaching a crusade to Mexico and creating a furor of excitement wherever he appeared. At length, a large number of runaways were assembled, stolen mules and corn gathered from the fields, and bacon filched from smokehouses had been conveyed into the woods. The expedition was about ready to proceed when their hiding place was discovered. Lou Cheney, becoming convinced of the ultimate failure of his project in order to curry favor with his master and avoid the consequences which he foresaw would follow, deliberately determined to sacrifice all his companions. Departing secretly from the encampment in the swamp, and instead of stating truly the object they had in view, asserted their intention was to emerge from their seclusion the first favorable opportunity, and MURDER, unalive every white person along the bayou. The fugitives were surrounded and taken prisoners, carried in chains to Alexandria, and hung by the populace. Not only those, but many who were suspected, though entirely innocent, were taken from the field and from the cabin, and without the shadow of process or form of trial, hurried to the scaffold. Lou Chaney escaped and was even rewarded for his treachery. He is still living, but his name is despised and execrated. I hope I'm saying that right, but it doesn't matter. By all his race throughout the parishes of rabbis and the Bayelis. Northup, pages 247 to 248. The inevitable, hey Tanisha, the inevitable white response to any mention of a slave insurrection was to institute even more force upon the slaves. In 1831, a Virginia slave named Nat Turner led an insurrection in which more than 60 whites were unalived. Federal militia was eventually called in to stop the rebellion. And for a long time after, slaves throughout the South lived through a reign of terror. Yet no matter how repressive slave owners became, there were always slaves who tried to escape, who knew little more than if they followed the North Star, they would eventually reach a place where they would be free. And they were always helped along their way by other slaves. Now, y'all can see I got my crystals on with my regular jewelry and stuff, right? And I'm a crystal person. And a lot of people think of crystals to be voodoo, but I say it's hoodoo. It's the hoodoo that I do, that my ancestors did. I don't know why I know this stuff, but I just know this stuff. I have rose quartz. I have like crystals all around me. So rose quartz is a crystal that you use to bring love in. I have seashells. When I go to the beach in Florida, I actually pick up seashells from off the beach. I have, what else I got up here? I have carnelian, which is also a love crystal. I have, I can't think of the name of this right off the top of my head, and it's crazy because any other time I need it, but this is a money crystal. This helps bring in money. I have amethyst, which is a self-love crystal. I'm so mad I cannot think of the name of this crystal. But anywho, I'm saying all of that to say our ancestors, even though they came over from Africa, they brought those traditions with them. But through time, we lost touch of what our ancestors wanted us to know. We weren't able to talk because they couldn't understand what the ancestors were saying. So they didn't want you to speak, but even more, there were certain ancestors, when they spoke, they could speak a curse on you and you would be unalived. So that was another thing. So they were scared. So they would put these contraptions over the mouth. And if you tried to talk, it would cut your tongue up. And so over time, I think Black people in whole have learned to not speak, to not think, and to want other people direct us and give us instruction on what to do and where to go and how to talk and how to act. So we gave up our identity and took on what we assumed to be the acceptable identity. And we turned our back on our ancestors' identity. But notice the slaves followed the North Star. How many of us know what the North Star is? Like, if you look up in the sky and see the stars, do you know which one is the North Star? Our ancestors followed, what's it called? Astronomy. So they knew the difference of the stars and how the stars would guide them. They understood the moon cycles, and they knew what to do on a full moon, or what to do on a new moon, or what to do on a crescent moon. They understood all of this stuff because if you take it all the way back to the beginning of time, the first civilization was a civilization of us. Well-melanated people. That was the first civilization. And during my research that I was doing over the past couple of weeks, because we didn't go live last week because I was so deep into this research, we always start talking about the transatlantic slave trade. And we take it from there and we just get caught. And I'm like, hold on. Because when I started reading this book, I realized, wait, we were kings and queens and we became slaves. Well, wait a minute. How did that happen? What happened? So what popped in my head, which I believe was the ancestors guiding me, the Holy Spirit guiding me. before the transatlantic slave trade, what were Black people? Like, where did we place at? Where did Africa place when it came to trading? Not slave trading, but just trading the spices and the oil and the gold and this. Where did Africa? What was Africa in this placement? And to my astonishment, we was number one, bitch. We was number one. And then the transatlantic slave trade started. And I'm going to try to pull this up just to give you guys the timeline, because I was like, I need a timeline. So I use AI a lot. I'm a very AI forward person. So I use chat a lot. I have my chat program with so much stuff, which you can see here. These are all the topics and stuff that we kind of go over. My businesses program with chat and all of that. But I went in here because I needed to find out just from the transatlantic slave trade. I said, I need more information. I also found out in my research that where my dad was born in Alabama is the same place that Norzel Hurston was born. So I'm like, that to me was just significant because Zora Neale Hurston is one of the Black Renaissance writers. And a lot of people don't understand the significance of that. But think about it. You had slavery that didn't want Black people to read or write. And then in the Black writing Renaissance, you have these Black people that are these phenomenal writers. And if you have not read Their Eyes Were Watching God, which I feel like I want to read that next. I'm not sure what book we'll read next, but I have a couple lined up. I definitely want to read through the Jim Crow letters because I want people to understand that. I really want us to understand our community and things that we've went through. And I probably should have had this pulled up already. Hold on. So I went over Black communities being displaced. If you can see this is a picture, a digital artwork that I created. This was the Black community before America destroyed it. So America decided to use these really flourishing Black communities to run all of these different interstates through. So anytime Black people decided to rise to the occasion or rise to the top, all of a sudden, that was not what they wanted us to do. And unfortunately, they just did whatever. And that's how we pretty much ended up where we're at now. But we have to still take our understanding and knowing that we play a role in where we're at now in society as well. And I'll probably have to read this to you guys later, but I'm gonna just tell you from the beginning, my understanding from my research. Africa was at the forefront. So when you think Africa, you have to know Egypt is in Africa. And I still don't understand, how was the United States bigger than Africa when Africa is a whole fucking continent? But the United States is part of a continent that includes Canada and Mexico, which makes up North America. But Africa itself is a continent. And from my recollection, Africa is the biggest continent. So why did they start teaching us that, America is bigger than Africa? No, the fuck it's not. They always want to minimize. And my whole reading of this book started with the outrage of the Black people that they're not going to teach Black history and they're taking this out of school and that out of school. And my thing was, why are you leaving it up to somebody else to tell the history? The Jewish people do not say, learn everything you need to learn about the Holocaust in school. They pass that down from generation to generation to generation to generation. They circulate their money within their community. They build their community. They help each other out in their community. They have their own community banks. We don't have any of that. We have what has been instituted through the Jim Crow, the enslavement of the mind. When they realize, hey, we can't keep them as slaves in the body, but if we enslave their mind, we'll keep them enslaved. And we're still enslaved. Many of us are still enslaved in the mind because where are our Black conglomerates? We have a lot of really intelligent Black people, but guess what? We don't have a Black conglomerate. I don't even feel like we have enough Black corporations that are employing these really intelligent Black people. So generally, and I can't remember which podcast, but Darius Daniels was on there. He was on this guy's podcast, and he made a striking comment. He said, yes, when you graduate high school, you can decide, do you want to go to a HBCU or if you want to go to a different college. But once you graduate from your HBCU, you don't have an option as to where you're going to work because there's not a lot of Black corporations. They're just not. You have these small businesses and they'll say, oh, I'm a 6-figure business, I'm a 7-figure business, I'm an 8-figure business, but how many people are they employing? They don't want to take on, and this, what I'm about to say, it came out the mouth of a white man, and unfortunately he's correct. It takes a strong person to want to take on the responsibility of payroll, to take on the responsibility of saying, I'm going to hire this person and pay this person accordingly so they can have a good livelihood the way I have. But I'm going to give them a task that's going to help make me more money, but I want them to make more money too. We don't do that. We don't hire anybody, or if we do hire anybody, we're trying to pay them the minimal amount because we can't see that you should be working toward bettering your community and the people in you. So if you make 8 figures and you say, well, I need you to do this job, and I know everybody else will pay you $100,000 to do it a year, but I'm only going to pay you $50,000. You lose out on that opportunity because you don't see the value that that person is going to bring your company that can possibly take you from being an 8-figure company to a 9-figure company. So we'll get into all of that later because also I'm a business coach and I came out with some fire offerings, which I'm going to plug right now, and then we're going to go back into the reading. If you are in need of a logo, a flyer, a website, a funnel, things that you would need for your business. If you purchase those things from our business, which is Keep Manifesting LLC, you receive business coaching for free. I cannot tell you how many people want to start a business. They don't know how to come up with their vision statement. They don't understand the mission statement. They don't understand the North Star statement. They don't know who their target audience is. They don't know how to properly price their product. And these are the things that kind of set the Black businesses apart. And Keith Lee did this whole thing in Atlanta, but when I stepped into business coaching, it was because I was living in Atlanta, and I'm like, you know what? It's a lot of money in Atlanta, and it's a lot of Black businesses, but they have no business being in business because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, they just know how to open up the door, and I got a good product, and you're gonna buy it. And we see how that went with Keith Lee. And unfortunately, you know, it is what it is. But that's the plug. You need a logo. You need some business flyers, some business cards, a sales funnel, a product funnel, a website. When you purchase those items from Keep Manifesting LLC, free business coaching is provided with the purchase. Now, if somebody can beat that in, holler at your girl. Let me know. Let me know. Okay. Now back to the reading. I heard a rap bump on my door. I answered a hollering. Then someone whispered, hush, don't say nothing, but let me in. I let her in. Lord, that woman was all out of breath and a begging. Can I stay here tonight? I told her she could, so the woman done sleep right there behind me in the bed all night. I knew she had run away, and I was going to do my part to help her along. I took and heard the horses and talking in the woods, dogs just a barking. I peeped out the window and saw white folks go by. I didn't move. I was so scared they was going to come in the cabin and search for that poor woman. Next morning, she stole out from there, and I ain't never seen her no more. Janine Patterson, The Negro in Virginia, page 133. Excuse me. This is one of the drawings by the artist, which I always forget his name, but I need to give him credit. Hold on, he did the drawing in this, Tom Fillings. Tom Fillings did the drawings in the book. Father's name was John Jones Littleton. Had a long, thin nose like a white man, and had the loveliest white teeth and the prettiest mouth, but his back was a sight. It was scarred up and brittle from shoulder to shoulder. Father got beat up so much that after a while he ran away and lived in the woods. He used to slip back to the house Saturday nights and sometimes Sunday when he knew Master and Mrs. done gone to meet him. Mama used to send John, my oldest brother, out to the woods with food for father. And what he didn't get from us, the Lord provided. Never did catch him, though. Old Master searched real sharp. Father wasn't the only one hiding in the woods. There was his cousin, Gabrielle, that was hiding in a man named Charlie. Ends was too sharp for the white folks. White folks was sharp, too, but not sharp enough to get by old Nat. Nat? I don't know who he was. Old folks used to say it all the time. The meaning, I guess, is that the ends could always outsmart the white folks. Cornelia Carney, The Negro in Virginia, pages 127 to 128. It was not uncommon for escaped slaves to hide out in the woods. Sometimes they did so for years. During the late 18th and early 19th centuries, many slaves ran away and lived with the Indians. Others escaped and created their own settlements. While driving in a chase from Portsmouth to Deep River, I picked up on the road a jading-looking Negro. He proved to be a very intelligent and good-natured fellow. He told me that his name was Joseph, that he belonged to a church in one of the inland counties, and that he was hired out by the trustees of the church to his present master. He liked to mind himself, as he did in the swamps. The dismal swamps are noted places of refuge for runaway Negroes. There were formerly people in this way much more than at present. A systematic hunting of them with dogs and guns having been made by individuals who took it up as a business about 10 years ago, aka the motherfucking police. Did y'all know that? Let me hold on. Let me put a pin right here. Did y'all know that police were initially slave capturers? Like if you were a runaway slave, the police went out to capture the runaway slave because they're really there really wasn't real crime. It's weird to explain it. I've always been like this history person, but you had where think about unalive person. You think Gunsmoke, right? You would have two people that had this issue and they were allowed legally to have a draw. And if that person pulled the gun first and unalived you, they didn't face any criminal charges or anything like that because it was understood this is what was taking place. What was the crime was you go and rob the bank. Robbing the bank was a crime. There were certain things that were criminal, but being a slave, that was not a crime, that was legal. But running away, you a slave and you ran away, oh bitch, we coming to get you. And that's where the police came from. So notice it said right here, a systematic hunting of them with dogs and guns having been made by individuals who took it up as a business about 10 years ago. And this is from this particular slave giving their account. So from the time slavery ended, this whole police thing started 10 years prior to this time. Children were born, bred, lived, and died there. Joseph Church told me he had seen skeletons and had helped to buy buried bodies recently dead. There were people in the swamp still, he thought, that were the children of runaways and who had been runaways themselves all their lives. Joseph said that they had huts and back places hidden by bushes and difficult of access. He had apparently been himself quite intimate with them. I asked if there were ever shots. Oh, yes, he said. When the hunter saw a runaway, if he tried to get from them, they would call out to him that if he did not stop, they would shoot. And if he did not, they would shoot. And sometimes unalive him. Let me read that again. I asked if there were ever shots. Oh, yes, he said. When the hunters saw a runaway, if he tried to get from them, they would call out to him that if he did not stop, they would shoot. And if he did not, they would shoot. And sometimes unalive him. But some of them would rather be shot than be took, sir, he added simply. Olmsted pages 159 to 160. Now, we all know that the perfect time for a podcast is 30 minutes. We're coming right up on 30 minutes right now. So we're going to close out here. We'll start up right here again next Saturday at 2:22 p.m., which is like BP time. Sometimes I'm here at 2:22. Sometimes it's a little bit later, and sometimes y'all not here either, so it don't really matter because it's going to replay because it's on what? TikTok. Well, TikTok not for y'all, but for Facebook and the YouTube, y'all gonna catch it on replay. I want to give another shout out again to Hennessy. Shout out to Hennessy, to the Hen, because I did not realize that Hennessy has always, let me go ahead and read this, only the most expressive and distinctive eau de vie are selected and carefully matured and blended to create Hennessy very special. Savor its unique blend of warm, full-bodied flavors, neat on ice or with the mixer. Imported by Moet Hennessy USA Inc., New York, New York. Produced and bottled in France by Jazz Hennessy and Company, 16100 Cognac. So I found out Hennessy has always supported the culture. Hennessy was the first company that helped people realize that there were Black affluent people. Hennessy is the first company that actually paid for advertising in Black magazines such as Essence and Jet, right? I'm like, you know what? Big ups to Hennessy. I generally don't drink Hennessy, but I'm like, you know, I'm going to go buy a bottle. So now I understand why Hennessy is such a staple in the Black community, because they really came in and supported when other companies would not advertise in Black magazines. Other companies would not even sell to the Black community. Cadillacs is another reason. Look, Black people kept Cadillac in business, okay? When Cadillac was going out of business, it was the Black people that came in and put Cadillac on the map. So again, Cadillac is another, which is an American luxury car, is on the map because of our culture, our community. My grandmother, in case you guys don't know, I'm a celebrity by birthright. My grandmother was in Jet magazine. My grandmother was like the number one insurance seller for this insurance company, and it was all published in Jet magazine. Do you know the kind of insurance that she had to be selling to be up in Jet magazine? And you number one, go grandma, go grandma, go grandma, go grandma, go. She was also a preacher. Her name was Elsie Mae Bailey. Hold on, Elsie Mae Bell Randolph Bailey, I think. But anyway, if you know of the Baileys, I'm a Bailey, and we the shit. We just all the way, like, I came from, as they say, good stock. Okay, I got good fabric. And shout out to my mom, Momski. She did a lot. She imparted a whole lot in me. She helped me be the bitch that I was when I needed to be a bitch, but she also made me be the soft woman that I needed to be when I needed to be soft, because I learned from her. So this shout out of Hennessy is for you and for the community. And to me being signed, I'm officially signed. I am officially with the agency. I officially have an agent, and I have been working for this shit my entire life. And I'm just here to say, it's only up from here. It's only up from here. I also have different waist beads that I make. I promise y'all I'm gonna get my website together sooner or later. But this is some of the waist beads I made. So as you can see this right here. Woo! This has your peridot on it. And then I even have this little bottle of crystals on it. I have this one that has clear quartz. It has clear quartz, black onyx. I forgot what the red is called. See, I used to could tell you the names of all this stuff. And then I have some charms on it. I even have these that says the good. I have these, lift it like a mechanic for the ladies with a fupa. This right here is a protection waist bead, which you can see I have the onyx on this one as well. And then I have this one, which is a rhodonite. Rhodonite is on this one. But I have this bracelet that I made that has my jade and my onyx on it. I got over here, I got my little evil eye. And it's actually a double bracelet. So it looks like this. And you can probably wear it on your ankle too if you want, but I just double wrap it and wear it here. But thank you all for joining. Thank you, YouTube, for 100 subscribers. Woo, woo, woo! I have been hustling my ass off over on YouTube. I want to thank y'all for y'all support. Thank you for your engagement. I definitely could not do this without you all. I used to wake up in the morning and say good morning and tell y'all some crazy stuff. We'll get back to our good mornings on YouTube. And I'm just excited. I even make little rings, which you can see this ring right here that has the crystals on it. I'm still mad. I can't remember the name of this crystal, but this is a crystal that brings abundance. It brings you your money. Citrine. I think it's how it's spelled. I can't say it right now. But y'all, it's Houston. It's Saturday, and it's time for me to go back outside. Lord Jesus, I'll be outside. I'm going outside. Thank y'all for joining. Peace out. I love y'all. Bye.